South Indian cinema is one of the most powerful film industries in the world. Millions of fans, massive openings, pan India dominance, and yet it is also one of the most mocked industries on the internet. People say South cinema sucks, but does it really? Or are we judging it by the wrong standards? Let's talk honestly. When people say South cinema sucks, the first thing they talk about is physics, because apparently gravity doesn't exist here. Cars flip 10 times and the hero walks out without a single scratch. A single punch sent 5 people flying like bowling pins. In Bahubali, warriors climb a waterfall using trees as catapults. In KGF Chapter 1, Rocky Bhai doesn't fight enemies, he deletes them. Bullet slows down, background music it speeds up, and logic quietly exits the theater. Now, here's the problem. Exaggeration itself is not bad. Cinema is not physics textbook, but when exaggeration becomes the entire personality of the movie, it stops being cinema and starts becoming a meme. Most mass films follow the same template. The hero enters in slow motion, everyone freezes, background score explodes, villains suddenly forget they have guns, and the hero, who was an ordinary man 5 minutes ago, now has a god mode activated with all the cheats included. Actors like Rajnikant, Yash, and others didn't create this problem, the system did. The audience worship elevation scenes, so writers keep writing elevation scenes. But elevation without struggle is empty. If the hero cannot lose, there is no tension. There is no grip in the story. If the hero cannot fail, there is no growth. And then comes the logic, or the lack of it. Villains attack one by one, like they are waiting for their turn. Police exist only after the fight ends. Plans magically succeed because the script says so, just like Stranger Things. The movie doesn't convince you, it forces you to cheer. And yes, the loudness, South cinema sometimes believes louder background music equals stronger emotions. But emotion doesn't come from the volume, it comes from the writing. Shouting a dialogue doesn't make it powerful, meaning does. So, when people say South cinema sucks, what they actually mean is formula driven mass cinema sucks. But where's the conversation change? Because South cinema also does things that many industries fail to do. That is emotion. Real, unapologetic emotion. South films understand family, sacrifice, loyalty, land, roots, and identity at very deep level. Movies like Jai Bhim don't only rely on the hero worship, they rely on truth. Asuran shows violence as consequences, not celebration. Drishyam proves you don't need slow motion to create tension, intelligence is enough. And then there's Kantara, a film deeply rooted in Kannada culture, folklore, and belief, something very few industries dare to explore anymore. It doesn't explain everything, it doesn't westernize itself for approval, it's own its identity. That's something South cinema does better than most. It doesn't beg you to be global. It becomes global by being local. Technically, too, South cinema is brilliant. Cinematography, production design, action choreography, often world class. RRR may break physics, but its visually storytelling is undeniable. The scale, the confidence, the commitment, Hollywood level ambition with Indian soul. And here's the most important truth. South cinema is not one industry. It's many industries. Industries like Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, Kannada, each with different strengths and culture. Malayalam cinema focus on realism and writing. Tamil cinema balances mass and message. Kannada cinema experiments with roots and rawness. Telugu cinema masters scale and spectacle. So, when someone says South cinema suck, they usually judging only the loudest, most exaggerated, not the entire ecosystem. The real problem isn't South cinema. The real problem is repetition without evolution. When filmmakers stop asking why a scene exists and only ask how loud it can be. South cinema shines brightest when it respects the audience intelligence, not just their emotions. When mass meets meaning. When elevation comes from storytelling and not slow motion. South cinema doesn't need to be stop dramatic. It just needs to stop being lazy. Because when South cinema is good, it's not just good, it's unforgettable. To really understand why South cinema sucks, gets so much criticism, you have to compare it with Bollywood because both industries are trying to entertain the same audience, but in completely different ways. Bollywood usually aims for realism, South cinema usually aims for myth, and when myth is judged using realism, it automatically looks stupid. Take action scenes. Bollywood action is designed to look believable. Heroes get tired, injured, scared. They run, hide, and sometimes lose. Movies like Andhadhun or Gangs of Wasseypur don't rely on actions at all. They rely on tension, silence, and consequences. South cinema, on the other hand, treat action like folklore. The hero is not just a man, he is an idea. That's why in films like KGF, Rocky doesn't survive fights realistically. He overwhelms them symbolically. The problem starts when the symbolic action is sold as realism instead of spectacles. Then there's hero worship. Bollywood creates stars, South cinema creates demigods. In Bollywood, even the biggest actors are allowed to look weak or morally confused. In South cinema, especially in the mass films, the hero is protected by the image. He cannot fail too badly, cannot lose too publicly, and cannot be outsmarted for long. Elevation scenes matter more than character arcs. Fans don't come to watch what happens, they come to watch how powerfully it happens. That pressure slowly kills experimentation because writers are forced to serve whistles instead of stories. Writing style is another major difference. Bollywood films are mostly writer driven. Scenes exist because the story needs them. South mass cinema is often moment driven. Scenes exist because the audience expects them. Logic gaps are forgiven in the moment feels powerful. Coincidences are accepted in the background score hits hard enough. Bollywood sometimes make logical films that feel emotionally empty. South cinema sometimes make illogical films that feel emotionally overwhelming. Both extremes fails for different reasons. Music also plays a huge role in Bollywood. Background music usually supports a scene. In South cinema, background music often controls the scene. The music tell you when to cheer, when to cry, and when to feel fear. Sometimes the emotion is created by the sound instead of writing. When used properly, it's powerful. When overused, it becomes manipulation. When it comes to experimentation, both industry take risks, just in different areas. Bollywood experiments with grey characters, open endings, and uncomfortable themes. South cinema experiments with scale, folklore, mythology, and cultural identity. A film like Kantara would be extremely risky in Bollywood, just like a quiet political satire would struggle in South's market. Different audiences demand different risks. So why does South cinema get more hit online? Because exaggeration travels faster. No one shares subtle writing in reels. They share flying punches and impossible stunts. Bollywood's bad films are forgettable. South cinema's bad films are meme worthy. The internet judges cinema in 10 seconds, not in 2.5 hours. At the end of the day, South cinema doesn't make illogical films by accident. It makes them because the audience rewards them. Bollywood failed when it tried to copy South cinema without understanding it. South cinema fails when it refuses to evolve beyond the same formula. The truth is simple. South cinema doesn't suck. Bollywood doesn't suck. But lazy cinema absolutely does. And that's it for today. If this video made you pause, rethink, or say, wait, why did I know that? That's my job is done. This channel exists for the unnecessary facts, the uncomfortable truth, and the things nobody explained properly. If you enjoy learning something random today, then you'll randomly remember this at 2 a.m. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications because curiosity never switches off. This is Why Did I Know That? And you know some things you didn't ask for.